Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the City of Kingston Planning Board meeting. Today is Tuesday, January 17th, 2023. We'll begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll begin with introductions. My name is Wayne Platt. We also have Charles Palaco, Robert Jacobson, Vince Archer, Emily Hamilton, Sage Newkirk, and Andrew Harris. We also have the planning director, Suzanne Cahill. Kyle Adide is the assistant planner. Matt's not here. Okay. So some housekeeping. Exits are either side of the council chambers. If there's an emergency, we have to exit the building. We're not going to take the elevator. We're going to go down to the ground floor and exit through one of the doors down there. Bathrooms are to my right. I ask folks to silence their cell phones at this time, and if there's a need for a conversation, there are conference rooms at either side of the council chambers, and we ask folks to use those if there is a need for a conversation. This is tough. This is terrible. This one. I'm going to silence my cell phone now. Okay. Item number 1 is adoption of the December 19th, 2022 Planning Board meeting minutes. Due to the issues with the recording, there were no transcripts for this meeting. We did have the minutes, right, from the thing, so yeah, we did. So this time I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes from that meeting. Any question on that? Second by Robert Jacobson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? Carried. There are no scheduled public hearings for tonight's meeting. So we're moving into new business. Item number 2 is 517 Wilbur Avenue. It's a site plan to establish a distillery, tasting, and small dining business. Section block and lot is 56.33-1-22, secret determination, zone M1. It's an heritage area, Ward 5. Miller Brothers LLC is the applicant owner. Welcome.
Evening.
Also, for the record, Matt Gillis is not here tonight, and Emily Hamilton will be a voting member tonight, fully voting. Welcome, folks. Can you state your names for the record, please?
My name's Kieran Tompkins.
Jonathan Niles.
Undine Niles.
And you can take that. I would just turn, and you actually have to kind of swallow these mics too. So, all right. So this is at the corner of Greenkill, right? The
Correct.
Minervini's building?
Yes, old Minervi's Auto Body Shop.
Okay. Tell us what your plans are.
So we currently have a lease and an alternating proprietorship with an already established distillery in West Park, which is where all our heavy manufacturing will be occurring. So all the waste, smells, most trucking occurs there. What we're looking to do is place a tasting room and a cocktail lounge there. So this would be for a remote tasting room for our business.
Okay. So no manufacturing there at all?
Packaging.
Just packaging. Okay.
Wastewater kept to pretty much nothing. It'll all go into cans. Any fermentation, if you guys have ever done any approvals on any breweries, we don't have any waste grains, none of the fermentation smells, none of the waste grain disposal problems. Yeah.
Okay. Going to have a kitchen there probably, right? A little kitchen?
Not a full kitchen, just enough to serve hot food.
Okay.
But no full kitchen.
Kylie, do you want to just do some of the outside? The screen is up behind you, so people will be kind of looking past you.
Yeah, that's okay. So yes, we have off-street parking available. We're not proposing to do any pavement. We want to do gravel to remain with pervious surface, so no surface runoff. We have the lower area there That's probably a little further down, which was an old driveway. We're proposing to turn that into patio seating, outdoor area. Removing one of those driveways from that intersection would be great. We're proposing to take that, one of the doors that they've blocked up, turn that to our new front entrance, however. On the Wilbur Avenue side, we have a mock-up made where the old pavement is there for the old entrance. Yep. And we're proposing to turn that back into green space with grass or wildflowers, raised beds, if that would be okay.
That's
Returning-
that picture right there, right? You're
That's
talking
correct,
about?
that's
Okay.
correct. Those overhead doors turned into windows and 2 emergency fire exits on that side. We are proposing on the Wilbur Avenue side, we should have that, a fence for our parking area to block off any headlights from parking. And up on the top area, we need to install a ADA compliant ramp, which we found that the best possible solution is to be along the
To that
along the
one-
back side of the building in the parking area. One more up. Proposed in blue there. So that currently was an overgrown area behind our property, which we've cleaned out. And we're proposing to put a ramp there at the top, a small paved area for handicap space, and the ramp would come down to that patio seating area. And in front of the patio seating area, we have planter boxes, a little more curb appeal for that rail trail that comes through there.
Okay.
The planter boxes will also act as a car barrier to protect our customers.
Right. The one thing you want to just be cautious and conscious of is that the planter boxes have to be on your property. Make sure that don't extend beyond the property line into the public right-of-way.
Understood?
Okay, so when they're placed, just make sure I don't know exactly where your property line is, but in the picture here, it appears that they might be in the right-of-way.
Understood.
Okay.
We'll put them back farther. We'd like to have those planter boxes also along the top area with some handrails placed on the upper level, which is to prevent people from falling off along the back through there.
So part of that upper level is your area too? That's not the battery companies?
No, that's ours.
Good. Okay.
That's our driveway there off of the Greenkill Avenue, which is visible on the overhead map.
No, this is their driveway.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they have this is their parking in the back.
Okay.
Okay, and the property actually goes out to South Wall. It goes to Wilbur on this side, but there's.
Really? It goes all the way over there?
But they're not using that. It goes by Binney Water Ice out to,
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
or South Pine, rather, I'm sorry.
Okay. Is that all wooded going out to that part towards South Pine, is it?
It's all overgrown.
Yeah.
It's not very large trees. The canopy actually comes from Kingston Mechanical. Those
Okay.
are all established trees that are hanging over that area.
Okay. So you won't be accessing this from South Pine at all,
No, it's currently inaccessible.
Okay.
Somebody seems to have mined out some of the fill from the old rail bed.
Okay.
So it's impassable at this time.
But the parking lot will be accessed via Wilbur Avenue?
Access from the Greenkill Avenue.
Greenkill.
Well, isn't this where the planter boxes are?
This is Greenkill.
Yeah.
Right. There's this parking, this slower parking. Planter boxes with the other squares.
Okay.
Okay. And then there's a driveway access here that
Okay.
goes to this upper back area.
Right.
So that's how the
I
access
gotcha.
is going to be. Okay.
Copy that. How many spots does he need there?
He's got plenty.
Plenty? Good. Awesome.
I believe we have a measure on there. It's 110 feet long by 50 feet wide, so quite a bit of space in there.
Okay.
You want to just speak to the storage trailer
Yes.
that you plan to put there?
Further down, we'd propose on the, you would see on the back side of that red box, which touches Kingston Mechanical, storage containers. We'd like to do those timber clad though, so they look like fencing instead of Connex boxes in the back of our property for storage. And we have a picture of that.
I don't mean to skip back. The parking that's coming off of Greenkill, is that asphalt?
No, it's just gravel at the moment, but we propose some more gravel there. No pavement whatsoever.
So how are your deliveries be handled? What's kind of trucks you got? You got one, probably a van or something coming from West Park?
Most of it will be coming from our own, having the most deliveries of the larger truck variety at our other facility in West Park. So the largest truck that we probably fit through here would be a 20-foot flatbed truck.
Okay.
And how long is your lease in West Park that would keep your manufacturing in West Park and off of this property? Is it a long-term lease, or would you in the future look to move your manufacturing out of that property?
It's 10 years currently. We would probably, if we needed to, we wouldn't want to do actual heavy manufacturing here. It just doesn't work. It's just too tight. We'd find somewhere else if we needed to. We'd like to keep it just as a forward-facing cocktail area, tasting rounds, yeah, but.
If anything were to happen in your West Park lease, and you own this property, and you're in a lease in your West Park property, where does that leave you?
That would leave us mostly with subcontracting work with other established distilleries that I've worked with in the past. A little background, I've been managing distilleries for the last 10 years now, and now we're just opening up one for ourselves. And the place that we have a lease with, I'm managing their distillery as well. So it's managing their facility and operating mine out of theirs as well.
And is this something that's going to operate year-round? Is this what your plans are with that?
We'd like to operate year-round. We have on the narrative, we propose to do Friday, Saturday, Sundays, 2 to 9 o'clock, open to the general public. Monday through Thursdays would be packaging and any light manufacturing, though, just to keep light on the staffing.
Yeah.
If anything, maybe on a Thursday opening, but it would be an all-round situation, yeah.
And on that green space that that where the garage doors used to be, that's nothing's going to be happening over there, right? You're going to have any?
No, we would like to just make that green space clean
Okay.
up. It currently is paved right now, but we'd like to discourage any parking or any parking over there.
But no tables or anything going to be out on that
No
side?
tables there. We would like to put those in the other space and that outdoor patio area, which is currently the lower parking area. So we'd be removing the entire parking area and driveway and making that an outdoor seating location. So
Okay.
much nicer than the other side.
And they are adding bike racks as well,
Pardon?
bike racks,
Okay.
because of the trail. So they'll,
And lighting for the place?
We do have lighting farther down. We have a fair amount of light pollution coming from interstate batteries, which illuminates about half of our parking lot.
Yeah.
So we have an existing light post with electrical in it already. We'd like to install LED on that, but we'd like to make it 2 LEDs to more focus what we have and keep it from splashing into any neighboring residential units. So it would be minimal light pollution, what we'd like to propose there.
And perhaps maybe some decorative lighting too, like,
Yes.
the Edison bulbs, so you're going to have that kind of thing?
Over
for
the patio area,
ambiance?
yes. Yeah, just
Okay.
over the patio area,
Yeah.
with seating.
Okay. Were you happy with the lighting? Okay, good, that's good. All right. Any questions, other questions?
No, the only thing is that just with the parking, if it's gonna be gravel, if
like spilling out into the,
Yeah.
So when the cars basically gun it to go out into traffic, not spinning your gravel out into the street, and unfortunately, your street at that location is the bike path.
Yeah, understood.
We don't want bikes traveling over gravel on pavement.
Understood. Will we speak with,
Speak with staff on that, what the
Yep.
requirement is, but that's just something to keep the gravel in your property versus migrating out into the street.
we can put a proposal just to,
Major.
this is just an aside question. It doesn't have anything to do with what we're going to decide on tonight, but any big events ever planned there where you're going to, I don't know if you've talked to Howard Johnson, he owns the lot across the street from you, to have any,
we've seen it, but we haven't spoken to him. I notice he
Okay.
owns a few of the other properties over there. If we were to have any events, we would definitely want to speak to him and maybe have a day use on that, would be for sure
Okay.
what we would ask to do.
I think he's had food trucks there before in that
Yeah.
lot. Be a good tie-in. Any other any questions? All right.
Does have to go to county.
Okay, we did, okay. So we're going to have to refer this to Ulster County Planning Board. It's because it's on a state highway and
And the
it's,
Empire State Trail.
and the Empire State Trail, and we're increasing the parking of the, that all that triggers that. So we're going to do that for you, okay?
Thank you.
So that takes a month to come back to us to the next meeting. When are you looking to get going on this?
We'd like to have this open by early summer, late spring.
Okay, so you got time then.
Yeah.
Is that something we'll have to come back to, or, yeah. All right, so we're going to do that for you. And so under seeker, it's a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required. And we do have a number of board policies that Jesus probably has told you about what we're going to attach to this approval. You did, yeah.
They're in the application.
All right, so at this time, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 2. And we're going to have to wait for, oh yeah, we got to table then, don't we? Can we do that pen with as a,
If it comes back satisfactory, then it wouldn't delay them to the February meeting.
can we make it a condition of approval? Or do they need to come back? All right,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay, so table.
Yeah, we're going to table. So this time I'll make a motion to table item number 2. Do I have a second? Second by Charles Palaco. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. So we'll see you next month then.
What that, just so you guys understand what that
I
means.
thought we
is
could have made-
Because we have to refer to the county, we can't act on it until the county gives us their comments.
Understood.
Come back next month. It sounds like the board doesn't have any issue with the project, but obviously we got to see what the county comments are. And if county's acceptable, then we'll obviously vote on it. If the county makes any suggestions, then we'll talk about it and then we'll vote on it at that time.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I snatched from you. That was my fault.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. We'll see you next month. Yeah, nice. All right. Well, I'm just hoping maybe we could do a condition of approval, but yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Yeah. Okay, old business. Item number 3 is 346 Broadway, site plan for 2 apartments in the mixed-use overlay district. Section block and lot is 56.26-11-9, seeker determination, zone C2, mixed-use overlay district. It's in Heritage area. Ward 9. Daniel Bagnell is the applicant owner.
Okay, he is not coming tonight. He reached out to our office. He had another obligation. This is carried over from last month, and we did get the clarification about the use of the upper floors. It had been listed and approved for 2 apartments. It's no longer 2 apartments. There's 1 kitchen and The apartment now is used by him as the owner, him and his wife. So that was the clarification we needed. This is one of the special use permits that is now converting over to site plan. So that will be spelled out. We need to spell that clearly in our decision.
So we can make a decision tonight without him having,
Yeah.
being here, right? Okay. And that was the only outstanding issue, right?
That was.
Okay. Everybody
The board
okay with moving? Yeah. All right. All right. So under seeker, it's a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required. All right. And these are just all the original conditions, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So at this,
A single apartment above.
okay. So at this time, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 3 with that clarification that Sue gave us, as well as all of the original conditions carried forward.
Correct. Yes, one apartment. The 2 units were combined into 1 unit, and they, as the owners, are using it themselves. 1 unit. Correct.
All right, so that's a motion. Do I have a second? Second by Emily. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, item number 4 is 199 Rear Hurley Avenue and 203 and 205 Hurley Avenue and 493-495 Washington Avenue. Site plan to construct a 60-unit senior housing structure along with supporting infrastructure and improvements. Section block and lot is 48.70-1-7.200, 48.71-2-1, 48.70-1-15.2, 48.70-1-15.1. It's Zone O2 and C1, Ward 1. Hudson Valley Housing Development Fund is the applicant owner. Welcome, folks. I'll pass this around, too. Okay. Everybody else got that? Okay. A lot of paperwork here. Okay. All right, turn your mics on and state your names for the record, please.
Ego Leary, Hudson Valley Housing.
Javed Afzali, Harris Beach for Hudson Valley Housing.
Larry Podgy, civil engineer for the project.
Okay. Welcome again, folks.
Thank you, Chairman.
All right. So, all right, so where do you want to start, with county comments, Sue, or do you stand by? You want to start with these?
Well, I think the first place to start is really just to ask the board members. On Friday, we sent around a good deal of information that is new. And I didn't know if any board members had any questions on that. Tonight, what you've received is an updated list, Schedule A, of all of the documents, the review documents associated with this project, as well as an updated resolution. But you did receive a form of resolution last week and the schedule, so they're very similar, minor changes, but we will be going through this new resolution in greater detail. So I didn't know if board members have any questions first. I'm going to open it up to anybody. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. I'm going to open it up now to the applicants. I know you've submitted a good deal of additional information. Is there anything beyond what you have submitted before we start going through the resolution that you want to say to the board for the meeting?
So the information we recently submitted was largely in response to county comments that we received and other just cleanup work that we are working with the planning department with. So while it is new and additional information, it doesn't modify or deviate our original plans and how things have been progressing. As the board is going through this resolution, there are a couple of points that we would just like to touch base with the board. One dealing with distinctions between performance bonds for the entire project versus interim bonding. We're also going to want to ask the board its decision or its determination on the parkland fees. As you know, we went before the Parks and Rec Committee and Commission. They have not had the opportunity to provide a final determination or advisory recommendation. So it's up to this board to decide what that fee is going to be ultimately, and we'd like just a few words on that before you guys make a decision on that. Other than that, I think we're looking at everything and things look good.
Okay.
All right. So as far as the performance bond goes, the information that you provided was handed in on Friday, right? So John Schultes, our engineer, is still taking a look at all that.
That's correct.
I know he's got some other stuff on his plate too, other than this. So,
Right, what I would suggest is that we just go through the resolution because that is brought out in the resolution, and there are some questions that we can address to the individual items.
Okay.
Going through it, as we go
All right.
through it. I think that's the easiest way.
okay.
Emily, turn your,
So I just have some comments on the county's concerns. I agree with their concerns. I do think that this site is this building will be sited in a floodplain, and I do have concerns about climate change and the effects in the future on the building, the way it's proposed. I'm an affordable housing developer. I had a father who lived in senior housing, and I would not want to put my father in this on this site. I'm an affordable housing advocate, and I feel strange voting against perhaps the development of affordable housing, but at the same time, I'm not against the development of affordable housing. I'm against the development of this site. I also have concerns about how HCR will view this project. HCR typically funds, awards projects that are not in greenfields. They're typically in infill, so I don't know how competitive this project will be. That's based on my experience as a developer. Additionally, I'm wondering, Peg, if you've done a site suitability, had a site suitability analysis done and gone to the environmental unit at HCR. You've done that?
We did do a site suitability test report, and was recently submitted to the board as early as last year.
Right,
but to HDR.
Did it go to HCR? Right.
Peg, I just need you to use, I'm sorry, the mic. Thank you.
At this moment, we do not have an application into HCR. We have prepared a site suitability in the past to HCR, and they accepted it.
Okay.
Okay, so everyone has a proposed form of resolution in front of them. The applicants have been provided a copy as well to follow along. We're just going to start by going through, I'll give the board a few minutes to read the first page of whereases. We're not going to read them verbatim out loud, but if you do have any questions, they're pretty straightforward, factual-based statements. that form the basis of the resolution. So if you just read through the first page, if there's any questions, let me know. And likewise, if you have questions on them, please ask.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kyle is going to also put it up on the screen behind you. Okay. No, it's in here, beyond, it's further on, it's further down.
That's what I'm saying. Where's our list that we're starting?
Yeah, well, when we get to, right to there, that's when we start discussion, really. Okay, so if everybody's done with the first page, any questions? Okay, let's move on to the second. Again, same situation. They are all the whereases that form the basis of the document, all factually based statements. That was the original recommendation from the Kingston Parks and Rec Commission from January of 2011, when this project was first under review. Because of the amount of time that has lapsed, we re-referred it back to them again. The base amount has changed from 2,000 to 3,000 per unit, which is the difference that you see to the 168 figure that you remember from our discussions. It's not in this section, but it'll be in a subsequent area of the resolution when we talk about the actual assessment. Mhm. Yeah. Okay, Wayne just caught a typo. It is in the second to last whereas, and it is the date of the city fire chief issued an opinion of satisfactory compliance. It should be December 16th, 2022. Can you make that, can you make that change? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Are there any questions on the second page other than those? Okay. So then let's move into now, therefore be it resolved by the City of Kingston Planning Board as follows. Section 1, and I will read it. After thorough review of all documentation and public comment, the board votes to approve the site plan to construct 60 units of senior housing, 55 years or older, along with supporting infrastructure and improvements to be known as Kingston Meadows and located at 199 Rear, 203 and 205 Hurley Avenue and 493-495 Washington Avenue, in parens SBLs 48.70-1-7.2, 48.71-2-1, 48.70-1-15.2, and 48.70-1-15.1. Section 2. Approval shall include all conditions as follows. Submission of a detailed cost estimate of all site improvements for review and approval of the city engineer for purposes of defining the required performance bond amount for the action. Final amount will include the standard 10% contingency line. On that note, as Wayne had said earlier, the cost estimates are still under review of the city engineer. They gave a detailed cost estimate for not only the construction of the project site, but there is a separate cost estimate that was developed for the interim grading plan, which would be the first phase. And then there's also a separated out of that, there are a couple of additional work elements that would be involved with the remediation or restoration reclamation should the project not go through. In looking at those myself, I did have a couple of questions. So give me a moment. That I will be going over with the city engineer. My thought was that with the reclamation cost estimate, there is no mention of replanting any trees in the restoration work. And I think that as part of if it's necessary to do restoration, reclamation, that native trees should be included. It should not just be left as a seeded area, okay? So that's something we'll probably be asking for a cost on for that as well.
You're talking about seeded area where they're doing the soil settling for building.
Correct.
Why is it necessary to plant new trees? Because
Only if the project, no, this would be for if the project does not move forward, ultimately, that as part of the reclamation, that they would just go back in and replant some native tree species in that area. They would not be carrying, the project would not be moving forward. That's if the project does not move forward.
I understand, it's just that that's, by the work that's being done to that point, that's providing a buildable area for any type of project that would go into the property.
True.
That's why I'm not sure that necessarily want to planting trees in that area, because
Okay.
you could potentially have a smaller project if somebody else want to put something.
Okay.
I don't know that commercial property or property the size is back first forest.
Okay.
I'm just looking from the city point of view we don't have a lot of developable land in the city.
Other members of the board, how do you feel about that? Any thoughts? Vince? You would agree? Okay. All right, so I will strike that request. Okay. You said that you had some questions on the bond. There's a couple other points with the bond that I'm just going to read through. The next point is confirmation from Ulster County that they will be undertaking construction of the roadway to be considered as a secondary emergency access, or the applicant will be required to submit a bond for the installation and commit to the completion of that access roadway. This is the project that the county has submitted, has drawings to do. But if that project does not go through, this is their emergency access. The onus of doing that development will be on the developer. So what we're asking is for a written statement from the county that they're committed to doing that, and then a statement from the developer that if the county does not follow through with that, that they will follow through with that project, and they'll provide the bonding for that. Clear? Okay. The next bullet is the submission of the performance bond in the amount so set by the board based on the opinion of the city engineer in a form sufficient to planning staff and the corporation council prior to any work on or off site and issuance of any building or site work permits.
That's based on the phases that have been produced.
Well, the question is, do you, I think the full bond amount should be submitted up front. That's a question for the board. It's discussed a little bit in the next point where we talk to the interim plan, but the full amount would be for the whole project.
I don't agree with that.
Okay?
I think it should be phased out because you have to do your first phase, and then they've got to go for their funding source, which could be federal or state funding sources, which take time, and bonds are extremely expensive. So to bond a whole project that you're waiting on financing, it could be 5 or 6 years before that comes in. So I think the first phase should be for the development of the site pad and the reclamation part. Let them go do their financing, and then when they're apply for the building permit for the actual project, that's when they incur the big bond for the whole building that's going to be built. They need funding. I mean, funding could take a couple of years. I mean, there's no reason to bond for a building that you may not be building until you get the funding.
This was one of the issues that we did want to talk about, which was we have the interim, phase one as far as the grading goes, and we put up the performance bond for that as well as the restoration in the event the project doesn't go forward. It would be a substantial, cost savings to us if we didn't put up the entire bond for everything. I think we've calculated to be about $30,000 a year if we had to do the full one. If we took the half step, did the interim performance bond, move forward, we don't think it's going to take 5 years. We don't think it's going to take anywhere close to 5 years to that. But we do anticipate maybe if it does take about a year, it still is about a $30,000 savings in terms of taking it, one step and then the second step forward.
So we'd have to have language built in that,
Bonding would be respective to the phases as approved by the engineer. I mean, you're bonding for something that's not happening.
Okay, so in the next section where I have the interim plan, are there any other comments from board members on that thought, one way or the other? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's something that's not out of order. I mean, we're not the first the board to do such a thing, right? This is something that has happened before.
What?
Two phases, you're developing a pad site, then as a developer, you're going to find your financing, then you're coming back and you're completing your project.
Yeah, as far as submitting money for the,
We have never phased a bond. We've always had the full bond, and then as phases are completed, we would reduce the bond. That's the way we have done it in the past. We have never said just bond phase one only, and then move on to the next phase when you're ready, give the bond for that. We've not done that I'm aware of. Correct. And then they apply for the reduction, and the bond is reduced. You've seen the bond reductions come through here periodically.
is that because we want the applicants to show that they are good for that amount of money?
Well, it shows commitment
Yeah.
to the project. You just did a very similar affordable housing project with the Golden Hill, and that's 100% bond upfront.
Just to reiterate, this is not a deal breaker for us in any way. It's just asking for that consideration. If the flexibility is not there, we're okay with that.
On the interim section, it reads, the interim plan, authorization to undertake advanced site work ahead of obtaining funding to complete the project with the following conditions being fulfilled. Submitting the total performance bond for the full site work to be needed to complete the project 100% in the amount set by the board and in a form acceptable to planning staff and corporation council prior to any permit or work activity on site as discussed above. That's pretty much what we just were talking about. Second bullet, submit the interim plan set for site work, grading, and all details associated for review and approval of planning and city engineer for this work stage, including debris removal and disposal method. This is materials that the city engineer is currently reviewing. These were submissions just last week that we received, and he's starting to go through them. So that's will be another condition. The next bullet, obtain and submit the nationwide permit confirmation letter from Army Corps of Engineers, ACOE, with regard to site work and acceptability. Any identified conditions, recommendations, or findings must be adhered to. This was something that was also in the county's comments, and it's been something we've talked about in previous meetings. It's the jurisdictional letter that they have been working on and trying to obtain. The next bullet is submit the detailed project work scope in a narrative format, breaking out and establishing dates/timeline, work elements, responsible parties for tasks, adherence to all local codes, for example, the noise ordinance, to set thresholds which will be used to determine the progress, including monitoring activity both during and after work is completed. Now, there was a detailed narrative that was submitted, and it was part of the circulation documents that went around to everybody last Friday. Have you all read through that, and do you have any questions? I know that I had a couple of questions. The engineer is also in the process of reviewing this. So do board members have any questions on that narrative that was circulated? Okay, so my questions are basically that it does not identify where any of the cleared, grubbed material is going to be, how that's going to be dealt with. We know it's not going to be left on site. Where is it going? How's it going to be disposed of? That's one of my questions. And a second question that I had is that it states that access to the site is going to be obtained from the paved roadway, access to trailways, and the point of praise. Over the existing abandoned O&W Railroad bed and over the existing Catskill Mountain Railroad crossing. So I know that there are some permissions, but I need to have definitive proof that there is permission to use that paved roadway, because that's not part of your final plan. So that you'll have to obtain, and I believe it's Central Hudson is the owner. Okay, so that's something that we need to get. It speaks to a stabilized construction entrance. It says it's installed on the north side of the existing rail crossing, but that's not the last point where debris, like a dirt road, the O&W rail trail is also going to generate some traffic. So the stabilized construction entrance at one location is not going to cover between there and the paved roadway system. So there's going to have to be something additional or some other recognition there. That's another question. The time frame that's talked about in the narrative is late fall and early winter. We know that that's obviously not going to happen, so that's got to be updated and revised with a new time frame. And I have a couple questions about the inspection on a weekly basis versus daily. I have to talk to John about that, so we're going to be discussing that internally, and we'll be talking directly to Larry, if that's okay with you, Peg, okay, on that. Those were some of my initial questions there that we'll have to work on. And again, this talks to also just a statement about adhering to the local codes, like the noise ordinance, that should be recognized in the document. So those kinds of things. Any other questions? Any questions from you?
Oh, that makes sense to us.
Okay. All right. So the next bullet. Provide a detailed reclamation plan for approval of the city engineer that includes interim measures to avoid erosion and runoff, water quality disturbance, maintain site stability, replace ground covering and narrative, and with the, I'm going to start over. Provide detailed reclamation plan for approval of the city engineer that includes interim measures to avoid erosion and runoff, water quality disturbance, maintain site stability, replace ground covering with native species, restore areas to the natural state, and reclaim lands, remove infrastructure set in place to undertake the work. One of the things I noticed was that it talks about restoring the areas of the construction entrance and the roadway, but it doesn't speak to the parking area, so that's got to be mentioned in there as well. And again, John and I are looking at this as well. Any questions from the board? Okay. Prior to any work beginning on the site, the limits of disturbance should be surveyed out and clearly marked by a licensed professional to avoid any error. That's a kind of a given. The next item, submit the proof of temporary access rights for the interim work over lands of others, Central Hudson. The next, if the project or the building construction is not begun within 1 year, the applicant shall return to the board to discuss the project status, and the board will determine if remediation and reclamation should begin on the site to return to the natural state as outlined in the final reclamation plan. So that's basically, once you've done the grading, if you don't start, you're going to come back and we'll talk about the status, where things are at, and going forward from there. So it's a 1-year time period established. Any board questions so far? It's a checkpoint, basically, so they just come back. If they're moving forward, then there's no need to, yeah, it's just a means of measure. It's a time to measure and review.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, is it a realistic time, that's all.
We're okay with that 1-year time frame, yeah, thank you.
Okay, all right. The next bullet, we're off of the interim plan. Is there anything else that board members feel need to be included in that section? Anything I've missed? Okay. We'll move on to the next bullet. Kingston Water Department shall issue a final sign-off of the system providing the potable water supply to the action. That would be a given. The next bullet, submission of the written jurisdictional determination. Again, I repeated that, from the Army Corps of Engineer and receipt of a floodplain development permit from the city prior to any work being undertaken on the property. The following is a list of board policies that are hereby incorporated into the decision. I will just read the numbers. Policies 1, 1A, 2, 3, 3A, 3B, 4, 4A, 6, 7, 7A, 8, 8A, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 14A, 15, 17A, 17B, 18, 18A, 19, 20, 22, 25, and 26. They're standard board policies. Any questions? Okay. Next bullet, compliance with all mitigation measures as defined in the adopted neg deck of environmental significance of January 14, 2013, amended on October 18, 2021, and as reaffirmed on February 22, 2022 by board resolutions. Standard. The next, refuse and recycle collection will be by private hauler. The next, final sign-off of the United States Postal Service for the location and the design of all mail receptacles. The next bullet, recognize communication of the Catskill Mountain Railroad, CMRR, regarding the safety protocol should the seasonal tourist train block the access roadway for any reason. And that was received by from E. Hunt on 11/21/22. If you read that, it was in the materials. It's basically that they have an engine on both ends of the train. That was a concern, that the access would be cut off, that they would just move the train off the access. The next bullet, final layout and location dispersing EV, electric vehicle charging stations, on site to be submitted to staff for review and approval, recognizing the minimum 5% per the adopted stretch code. Straightforward. The next bullet, recognize the area variance granted by the Zoning Board of Appeals in May of 2011 and reapproved in 2012, which remains valid for the length of the building. The variance was for the length of the building. Okay. The next bullet, conformance with all plans, documents, specifications, and findings as provided under Attachment A, reviewed documents dated January 17th, 2023, unless otherwise noted herein. And that is the schedule that you received tonight and that you received the other day. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that. We've tried to be fully inclusive, listing all of the most current plans with their most current revision dates as well. So that's the listing there. The next bullet, compliance with the SWIP, which is the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan dated December 2010, revised date 2011, and addendum dated February 2013. And there's a reference there to documents as prepared by Lawrence J. Paggi, PEPC. Any questions on that? I know that there had been a question previously whether or not that was still a valid document, and that has been confirmed through our city engineer and the DEC. The next bullet is the final as-built drawings must be professionally certified and provided to the planning office for all newly constructed and installed plan elements prior to bond release, and that's a standard. And the next bullet is blasting. Should it become necessary to blast materials at the site, the city's blasting ordinance will be adhered to. At this point, though, there is no anticipated blasting, but it's just thrown in there. Any questions? Okay, I'm going to move on to section 4, and this is dealing with the payment in lieu of parkland, so there will probably be some discussion here. I'll read it and then open the floor. The board finds that the anticipated increase in population as defined by creating 60 residential units of senior housing ages 55 and over shall cause a certain need for continued upkeep and improvements to facilities which provide recreational opportunities to residents. The board has reviewed a recommendation from the Parks and Recreation Commission, KPRC, of January 2011 to impose a payment in lieu of parkland fee of $112,000 representing the full fee. Now that's the 2011 one, and recognizes the KPRC reviewed the project at the December 2022 meeting, making no determination. A KPRC meeting in January was canceled and no recommendation has yet to be made. The board also recognizes the January 4th, 2023 communication from the project sponsor to KPRC, and that the statute requires the board to consult with the commission before making any findings on assessing a payment in lieu of parkland fee. The board notes the matter was re-referred out to the KPRC. There had been a prior recommendation, and at this time, no new recommendation has been forwarded. Therefore, the board determines that the full fee of $168,000 will be assessed as the payment in lieu of parkland, recognizing that although the project does offer some green space and recreation areas, after reviewing the proposed parkland and considering the project population, the board concurs that this would result in an increase in program participation as well as increased use in nearby parks and facilities such as Forsyth Park, Dietz Stadium, and the Andretta Pool. Such increases require strategic planning to meet the needs of our residents and provide high quality of life experience for all. Each impact, small or large, must be taken into consideration so we can best prepare for the future of our community spaces and offerings. The Recreation Trust Fund is utilized to help fund new amenities for both passive and active recreation, which allows the city to continue to grow its recreational opportunities and meet the needs of the community. That is the paragraph that we have proposed. I'll open it to the planning board members for any discussion.
Well, this has been kicked around for quite a few months now, right? Waiting for Recreation Department to come back with a recommendation. Just like we had, you folks appeared to reaffirm the seeker document, right? Because we may have to have dealt with any changes that have taken place from when the original document was filed to now, right? I think that this increase that has been made for the payment in lieu of parkland, which would now bring it up to, what was it, 168,000?
Yes.
you know, I think we need to implement the new number on that based on things have changed from then to now. So that's my opinion. I'm in favor of the increased amount. I don't know how everybody else feels about that.
Vince?
We'll turn on some microphones here too.
So how is that number derived? Is that,
It's
It's,
the total number of units. The first four are exempt, and so the 56 units times the full amount, which is 3,000 per unit. That's how it's derived.
yep, so I agree with that then.
Okay. Emily? Yes. Mike, please.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Sage, any thought?
No, I agree with the number.
Andrew?
I also agree with the number.
Robert? Yes, the original project back in 2011 offered a portion of the property to be, they were going to subdivide it off and donate that to the city of Kingston. The city just declined the offer.
May I have a couple words? This was one of the issues
Just
we did want
speak
to,
up, yeah.
this was one of the issues we did want to talk to the board about. So as the board knows, right, you make a finding and determination.
Can I just finish going around?
Oh, sure.
I'm sorry, I just want to finish the board. So, Robert,
I don't have an answer just because I'm trying to figure this out.
okay. Chuck, anything?
I like to finish hearing it out also, but I am not against the raising it to one.
Okay, okay.
So Parks and Recs makes a recommendation based on its review, but ultimately the decision is up to the board once it makes a finding that there would be an impact based on increases of demographics and how those increases would impact existing parkland resources or park facilities. Now, what you want to look at is, first of all, what is that increase? You know, we have a project that's going to be 55 and older. The demographics, mostly all single family, 2 units that are 2 families. So we're really looking at an addition of 60 or so individuals, 55 and older, without kids. So that's the ultimate impact that we're really looking at. There are some mitigating factors here. There is recreational facilities on site. There's, the rail trail is right there. There's 19 acres right by Esopus. There are inside facilities for the folks to use. There's multiple lounges, kitchens, community spaces. So our argument is that most of the recreational needs of the residents would be satisfied by not just the building, but by the facilities. Another consideration to be made here is, again, we are going for 100% affordable housing, and as everybody knows, in future iterations of city zoning, that would be a consideration on if there's going to be a reduction. Not that that applies right now, but that is a consideration. And finally, with respect to this fee, it is $3,000, but it's a maximum $3,000 per dwelling after the first 4 units. So what that tells me, and what I should tell you, is that there's a discretion there, right? If it's a maximum fee, then you have discretion to reduce it for the correct considerations. And I think this case and this project meets at least some consideration for reduction of that fee.
I know that, and I get your point that there's recreation facilities on site for the residents there. But the original 112,000 that was recommended by the Recreation Commission back in 2011 was based on the full amount at that time, right? So I get what you're saying about, and I'm just trying to figure out what to do here. The new amount that I'm in favor of is based on the full amount to be assessed. So, and there is some discretion, I think, with us, but the law doesn't have a distinction about age groups and stuff. So I understand what you're saying about everything, but the number that we're looking at tonight, that I'm looking at tonight, was based on the full amount as it is right now. So that's my feeling.
May I speak to this as well? for a
Sure,
moment?
sure.
I understand both sides, what's being said. I'd just like to reiterate that the housing we're proposing is for 55 and older. With that, the building code requires that that building be 100% handicapped accessible. So the housing is really built for aging in place. In addition, as you'll see on the seeker and elsewhere, 20% of the units, or 12 units, are going to be physically adapted for disabled. What we have to recognize as the developer of this property and similar properties over the past 30 years is that the tenants will age in place. And we just saw with the pandemic where healthcare, housing became healthcare. It doesn't have to be a pandemic to have the seniors be somewhat restricted to the housing. And but for socialization, their health would be greatly impacted. And that's why it's important for us to have both passive and active activities on all of our properties. If we were to look at our remote camera right now, you would see our community room filled with people playing cars and bingo, and then other activities. And they'll be walking outside and they'll be planting. It becomes a point where they have to give up their vehicles, and they rely on us for that. And what I'm saying to you is that we understand the recreation, but I'm asking you to please understand that from day one, we are providing and we're looking ahead to make certain that the tenants who do live there have passive and active recreation on site. Thank you.
Was this fee also charged, or did Landmark Place have to pay a similar fee?
Yes.
So it's a standard set by the city. Landmark Place is 55 and older. We are also doing the same thing at Rupco, providing passive recreational, and people are aging in place. So.
Else? Well, I need to know, do we leave the resolution as worded, or do we make changes?
Can you explain that 20% you talked about for the people who are going to, they're going to be, that 20% you just talked about, the amount of occupants that are going to be affected?
Yeah, 20% of the 60 units. 6 will be adapted for hearing and sight impairment, and then 6 units will be adapted for physical limitations. And we do have an executed service agreement with ARCAL. We're hoping that the needs that we'll be able to service much more than the 20%, but that's our minimum that we're going in with.
So I think, Chairman, the relevance of this is not that there's specific express consideration for folks who may be, disabled to give them a discount, but really this goes to what are the recreational type impacts that this demographic will have. And if we have a population that's, 20%, sight impaired, they're less likely to probably have impacts on city park resources. And so that's how it becomes a little bit more relevant.
Well, I mean, I think I would counter on that is that, obviously, yeah, I think I believe it's wonderful that, you are providing those kinds of facilities on site. However, when it comes to the public facilities like Dietz Stadium, which is getting a complete overhaul, amenities specifically to address, disabled individuals or handicapped persons are being incorporated into, into the facilities when they are updated. And that's the whole purpose of this fund, is to allow for that infrastructure to be updated to accommodate the population, on the whole. And, the programs are developed and are functioning in other facilities in Kingston that address, the senior population. So I would suspect that some of these members might participate in those programs at those facilities. Well, those roofs need to be replaced. Those heating systems need to be replaced. And that's the purpose of this fund. So
And
But
I
I
think
just
what
wanted
the
to
Dr.
add that.
Cahill just said is an important
Yeah.
consideration, a countervailing consideration that I think is also relevant, so that makes sense.
So with that 20%, half of that, the 6 units are going to be basically for people who are like totally physically disabled. They're not,
Pardon me,
What?
excuse me, not totally disabled.
Okay.
No, just have limitations.
oh, limitations, okay. All right.
But the units are adaptable, right? They're not necessarily, are they going to be reserved for that population specifically? So if you had other people, would they be allowed to use that room?
To ARCAL, pardon me, we market it to ARCAL for 3 months. And then if there's no one interested, then we do it
Right.
to the general.
Robert?
Like take a vote right now on where we're going to go, or how we're going to word that?
Well, if we need to change the wording, now is the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm in favor of still the 168. That's what I'm in favor of. So,
Okay, Vince, Emily,
2, 3,
Robin, Chuck?
Andrew?
Okay. All right, so
The
it
full amount?
stays as is.
Okay.
Thank you for that
No,
consideration.
thank you. Thank you.
The next section of the resolution reads, "The Planning Board has reviewed the Ulster County Planning Board's January 4th, 2023 comments and also the January 13th, 2023 clarification of Barstada, the City Housing Director, along with the responses provided in a communication from the applicant dated January 13th, 2023 from J. Hafsali Esquire, and finds the responses satisfy the Planning Board, and the Board hereby votes to accept them as written, overriding the comment of the Ulster County Planning Board with a majority plus 1 vote." So now this is open for discussion. I do want to just, the board received the county comments. I don't know if you, hopefully you've all read through them, but I do want to go through them specifically. I believe that we should for the record. Can you switch to the county comments up on the screen? Find mine.
Start going through one of the county comments.
Yes. Do you want to?
Yeah. The first item from the county comments is consistency with planning efforts of the city. I don't agree with the county's assessment on why this project should not move forward because of this. The county cites future zoning changes and transformation update to its zoning statute, which is now at the final, the stage is at the final draft and will shortly be referred to this board for review. My feeling on this is that it's an allowed use, it's a permitted use in this zone, and this board can only go by what the current zoning statute is when we're looking at development and our projects. So, and they also talked about the open space, priority conservation area, et cetera. The county originally had this property, right? Then they sold it to, did they have, who owned this to?
Ulster Bank owned this,
But who owned it prior to that? Do we?
the Babcocks,
Okay.
from like 1800s.
All right. So, you know, this is this is private property, and, you know, my feeling is if the county wants to do something like this, they should offer you money for it and undertake it themselves. So, again, we can only go by what the current zoning statute. Okay.
This is from Javits.
Oh, this is their response. Okay.
We need to discuss how it is in compliance with the open space plan. The open space plan was adopted as part of the overall comprehensive plan.
Okay.
There should be discussions that this is in compliance or it's not in compliance with the open space plan. I do believe that they have submitted materials and they can answer any questions or make that assertion themselves, but it should be something that we should make a record on tonight, because in addition to following the strict zoning code, we do need to be compliant with our comprehensive code, which part of it now is built.
Okay. So,
Did everybody hear what Matt
Yeah.
said? Just for the record, Matt Jankowski is the Assistant Corporation Counsel for the City of Kingston.
the response from the applicants is the Kingston Meadows Senior Project remains consistent with the goals of the 2019 City of Kingston Open Space Plan and advances the visions laid out in Kingston 2025, the city's comprehensive plan dated March 15th, 2016. The issue was fully addressed by HVH Consultants in a letter dated February 2nd, 2022. Response to staff comments, number one, providing consistency analysis in a letter dated February 2nd, 2022. Response to staff comment number one, providing legal analysis, and that's dated December 29th, 2021. The City Planning Board has respectfully referred to the referenced submissions. HVH's consistency analysis was available to Ulster County Planning Board. However, they failed to raise or refute any of the facts, analysis, or conclusions in HVH's submissions related to the consistency with the city open space and comprehensive plans. Ulster County Planning Board's comment is conclusory and amounts to nothing more than generalized concerns in opposition to the project. Moreover, the fact that Ulster County Planning Board has, quote, concerns about the overall suitability of the site for this use and its integration into the city's land use plans, unquote, is a clear example of Ulster County Planning Board exceeding its review authority under General Municipal Law 239-M. The Ulster County Planning Board's, quote, concerns, unquote, regarding site suitability and the city's land use plans are the definition of, quote, local concerns, unquote, and have nothing to do with intra-community or countywide considerations or to any county or regional comprehensive plans.
Any board comment on that? So the question is whether or not the board agrees that this project is consistent with the Kingston's open space plan, which was adopted and made part of the city's comprehensive plan.
I agree with their response.
Yes. Anything further to add from your side?
I think that captures it. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody,
Okay.
agree with that, with their response?
I still don't agree this is the best site for this project.
Okay. Sage,
Agreed.
agree with their response?
Agree with their responses.
I agree with the response.
Okay. All right.
The next comment.
Which comment are we in here now? Because this is all part of that one, right? Are we in the floodplains and wetlands now?
Yep.
Okay. All right, the next county comment is the floodplains and wetlands. You want to read the whole comment? Do we need the
I
whole?
think it's been summarized here.
Yeah.
If you want to read this, the comment is with regards to the wetlands, where the county planning has indicated that an approved jurisdictional determination by the Army Corps of Engineers is required to substantiate the wetland types is not in the record. We've identified that already as part of our review, and we have already incorporated it into the resolution in 2 locations, in fact, that it is a requirement that they provide that to us.
All right, one item that jumps out at me here in the county's comments is they actually say, although the project meets the elevation requirements for the existing, but not the projected future. It meets current regulations, the project. That's what I'm hanging my hat on, so.
Is the projected.
Okay.
We did have in one of the whereas clauses up front, the applicant has considered the project and prepared a floodplain impact analysis analyzing the FEMA flood profile and firms to establish a base flood elevation and a plan for the lowest first floor elevation consistent with the New York State Community Risk and Resiliency Act, the CRRA guidelines.
Where's their response in here for that? Do I gotta read their response?
That was out of our
Okay.
resolution. That was a statement in our resolution. This next section regarding the floodplain deals with the county making reference to that New York State flood risk management guidance for implementation of the Community Risk and Resiliency Act. And the response, this is the response that the applicant gave to that comment there. No, it's guidance. It's guidance only. It's not lawful, mandatory. As I said, the impact analysis has been submitted. The CRRA guidance is a document that suggests, and I'll read this from the response, the DEC guidance document suggests that 2 feet of freeboard be provided above the current 100-year flood elevation or use the 500-year storm. If we add 2 feet to the current 100-year elevation of 157.2, the resulting elevation of 159.2 is still 5.8 feet below the proposed lowest first floor elevation of 165. As such, the Kingston Meadows Senior Project is consistent with the CRRA guidance.
So the question is, do we agree or disagree with the applicant's response to the county on as far as that goes? You agree? Okay.
Agree with the response.
Okay. Andrew?
I agree.
And I agree as well. Okay.
Just a note, because there was one disagree who is a voting member. This is a majority plus 1 vote that will be necessary at the end to override the county comment.
Okay.
Okay. Just making that clear.
All right. The next issue is access. So we do have a letter from the fire chief stating that the access to the site is acceptable, correct?
Yeah, the Chief Ray on December 16th, 2022, and that's been identified in the resolution as well, specifically that after reviewing the additional work which was requested by this board last year from Gifford Engineering, that study was reviewed by the fire chief, and he accepted the 10-foot wide right-of-way as the emergency access with 2 foot on either side of stabilized material. So, and he did submit a statement to that effect.
Okay. And as far as access with the emergency egress, that's just for, that's for emergencies egress only. That's,
Right, I mean,
Yeah.
the actual driveway, roadway into the project is going to be a 22-foot wide paved
so that's good.
roadway. So this is a secondary emergency access only.
Right. So I agree with the applicant's response to that issue. Vince? Okay. We could turn on your mic still for this, too.
I agree.
Okay. Okay.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
Okay.
Next comment,
Is that the subdivision?
which is no longer.
All right. So the subdivision, while not part of the submittal, the board notes that the site plan continues to show that the parent parcel is to be subdivided into 2 lots. The site plan offers no indication as to how the northernmost lot will be accessed. And their response to that was here, that's no longer an issue, right?
Yeah, the subdivision has been taken off of the table
Yeah.
because they are no longer
Yeah.
going to be offering a portion of the property.
Okay. So that we don't have to deal with
non-issue.
that. Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Question for you, because I wrote this as a generic. Okay, and it requires a majority plus 1. Emily voted against the 1 issue. Do we do two of the issues? Do we vote separately on them or include it as a general statement like I did in the resolution? But her vote is recognized as negative for those 2, or do we take individual votes?
So issues, but it's certain issues are based
Right.
so I would consider
Okay, 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 all right, okay. Huh? He won't, he's not part of the vote. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to leave the language as is in the resolution. The next section is to recognize the communications of the public and city agencies and find that responses provided through discussion and with materials submitted satisfactorily address the issues raised. And that's just a reference to attachment A for all the document listings. Any questions? The next section specifically recognizes the statement of Kingston Fire Department Chief Ray dated December 16, 2022, expressing satisfaction with the provision of the emergency access roadway if constructed and maintained as provided for in the Gifford Engineering Study dated November 17, 2022. The next section. The applicant and/or Ulster County shall bear the full cost of constructing the regularly maintaining the emergency ingress/egress roadway as designed and presented with a 10-foot paved area and 2-foot compacted soils on either side, including the required pull-offs shown on the site plan documents but not included on the county design documents, PIN 8758.04 for a trail, to keep open and maintain the integrity of the access for emergency purpose 24/7. Any questions? Section 9, that there shall be no issuance of a certificate of occupancy, temporary or regular, unless the secondary means of emergency access for ingress/egress is fully constructed and open to the satisfaction of the city. Section number 10, the approval of the board does not eliminate the need for obtaining the appropriate permits and approvals from other boards, commissions, departments, and relevant agencies. Section 11, that this resolution shall take effect immediately. That is the drafted resolution. I will open it up. Comment?
So have we taken care of then voting on the county comments?
No, you will
That would
vote
be
on
all
them
part of incorporated
as
into
this.
the resolution?
Right.
Okay.
Thank you for your hard work, members of the board.
Any further comment from any board member? Okay, then you can move forward. The final resolution, Kyla will have to remove the watermark, and I will do a signature block using the decision document.
All right, so we're going to do all the whereases right now, right? Or do we
No,
gonna-
you don't, you don't, you
we
can,
don't have to do that?
the
We just-
resolution
Okay.
as read and
Okay.
considered,
All right,
I think is fine. I need a motion.
to adopt. Yeah. All right, at this time, I will make a motion to adopt this resolution. Do I have a second? Robert Jacobson? Stand by. All right, all in favor? Wayne Platt is a
Any
yes.
discussion?
Oh, any discussion, sorry. Okay. Okay, so there are a motion and a second to adopt this. Wayne Platt is a yes. Charles Palaco?
Say yes.
Robert Jacobson? Yes. Vince Archer? Yes. Emily Hamilton?
No.
Okay. It is adopted. All right,
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
thank you. So,
Okay. No. Okay.
no, well, do we need a break? Do anybody need a break? Okay, you can come on down. We're going to take a 5-minute break, yeah.
Dan, yeah, I want to move that maybe to that corner, because if you move it out too far this way, it's going to be right in the camera. Thanks.
Okay. Item number 5 is 104 Smith Avenue. A site plan slash subdivision to construct a mixed-use development with 100 residential units, 7 live slash work units, 3,000 square feet of commercial, warehouse space, and supporting infrastructure and improvements. Section block and lot is 48.82-1-7, seeker determination, Zone M2, mixed-use overlay district. MHV BF Developer LLC is the applicant. Second Wind Trust is the owner. Welcome.
Good
State
evening.
your names for the record, please.
Dan Simone, MHV Development.
Danny Sorokin, also MHV.
I trust everyone's vacation and holidays were nice. We are back in front of the board tonight for a continuation of discussion on the project elements with a couple small modifications that we wanted to bring to the board's attention. We initially submitted a subdivision application which entailed 2 lots for the development. Subsequent to the project development, we've revised that for 3 lots. Each of the new building components would sit on their own parcels. This, in effect, to assist us in developing financing on each project in separate manners. Based upon the available funding out there, we've also made some slight modifications to the barrel factory building and need for additional affordable housing. We'd like to propose the barrel factory building to contain 12 units of affordable housing in a mixed-use setting with commercial space as originally anticipated and some resident spaces. Let me just put that up for you. As the board is aware, the Barrel Factory building is our historic building that's located at the rear of the current F&K building on Brune. So the first level would contain commercial tenancies on the Brune Avenue side. Tenant spaces, again, facing the new build. And in the rear, some 2 apartments on the first level. And additional 10 apartments on the second level, ranging from studios, 1-bedrooms, and a couple 2-bedrooms. We'll be targeting some PLP financing on this building, which would give us the ability to get some better financing options for this building. Is that the small building? Yes, small building loan. Yep.
Just,
And then
Emily, just use your mic and turn it on.
Ask the applicant if they plan to use the small building participation loan program through New York State Homes and Community Renewal.
Correct, that is.
Just also through
Yes.
CA Preservation Corporation.
And in addition, one of the items that the board had requested was a visual analysis performed of the new build along Cornell Street, which we have provided to highlight. I'm sorry, these pictures copied a little darker, but you have better handouts, I think, there, which kind of accentuate the buildings. The first figure up on the upper left here is a view looking northeast towards Smith. The shirt factory is located directly on the right. As you can see, the upper left-hand corner is existing. The lower right-hand corner shows the new building along Cornell. This is also on Cornell Street looking southwest. The Verizon building is directly on the left here, coming up to Brune. And then this one was taken from the Brune Avenue side, and this one was taken from the Smith Avenue side, from those two intersections.
I like the look of it. Can you speak to how you arrived at, the colors and the design of the?
We were trying to keep with very dark muted industrial colors with the red brick and the iron ore, which is a hardy siding color. We did put in an element of light siding in there to kind of brighten up certain aspects of the building because we're bringing in some brighter elements also on the FNK building. Just so happens that on this image, it looks very similar in color to the existing building on the corner of Smith and Cornell, color-wise. That was purely accidental, but.
Yeah, just one photo here, I think, it draws some elements from the shirt factory building.
Yes.
I think that gives a good, clear picture.
Right, and that's one of the main elements we wanted to focus on the Cornell Avenue side is basically the shirt factory and the lace mill. They have that very brick, dark industrial look. So trying to.
One thing we picked up on your visual, it looks like you're extending at the corner of Cornell and Bruin. It looks like you're extending a pedestrian sidewalk out into the right of way, the way the visual is, and that there's parking on the street there, and I don't believe that there is on-street parking along that side of Cornell.
No, that was actually an error on the this here.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah,
just wanna
that
make it-
parking. Yeah, the parking remains. There is on-street parking, but it will be defined by striping and.
On Cornell on that side?
No, not Cornell. On Bruin.
On Bruin,
On
yes.
Bruin, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that element will not be brought out into the intersection.
Thank you.
I noticed that too after I printed them.
Okay.
Back to the barrel factory.
Yes.
Now that you put all of the more units in the building,
Yes.
the common elements like gym, meeting rooms, things like that, is that going to get moved to the new building?
No, we're actually keeping the common elements still in that building.
They are still in there?
Yeah, we have. Our community flex space is up in this location. We haven't fully programmed it out, but that will be a mix of common work areas, a gym and stuff like that. Mm-hmm.
Laundry is going to be throughout all the buildings?
Laundry, yeah, the main, let me just put that one up. The new build will have, some units, the larger units will have internal laundry within the units. Some of the smaller units will use a centralized laundry room on the first floor.
Barrel Factory has
Barrel
one.
Factory will have their own laundry. There's probably going to be one central laundry unit within the building. Because those will be affordable units, so those are going to be designed more kind of cohesive from an operation standpoint.
Even with the program changes in terms of the use of the barrel factory, you're still pursuing the National Register nomination for that structure?
Yes, we are. We've submitted our Part 1. We're anticipating hopefully a response by early February.
Okay, good.
And then we would directly proceed to a Part 2. And we did just as a excitement aspect, we did receive a grant
Right. Yeah.
favorable
So, yep.
from the Restore New York, yeah, so very excited.
To be a total of 22 units of affordable housing?
Yes.
Okay. And you
Yes,
said
10,
something, sorry.
100 in the new build with 10% of those affordable, plus 12 affordable in the barrel factory.
And who will manage?
Yeah, well, we have to work out the details of the actual management of it, but, we'll work through a partnership.
The other study that the board requested, the traffic study, is being worked on, and they expect that that's going to be completed, or we'll have that by the end of the month.
We're anticipating the traffic study and the sound study to be completed by the end of the month, so we can submit that to the board for the board's review. But it looks like it's all coming together, so
Right.
we'd also like to request when the board sees fit to put us on for a public hearing potentially in February.
It looks next month is where we're going to look at for that. Next
Okay.
month, yeah.
And that, the public hearing would be on both the subdivision and the site plan.
Correct.
Be a joint.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? The project is really coming along nicely, I think. We've given them a long laundry list of more detailed site elements that
Yes,
they are
well,
working
yes.
on, so.
And that we're working on staff comments right now. That'll also be done by
Right.
the end of the month. So Peak Engineering is working on the revisions there, the SWIP, all the elements that go along with that.
Any questions, other questions? Okay, so we are going to schedule the public hearing, like Sue said, for the February meeting. All right, traffic study will be done by then.
Yep.
We'll have that in hand. And, yeah, so no further questions. Make a motion that we table item number 5.
Yeah, this also requires a referral to the county, so we're going to recommend that you allow us to do that in advance of your final SECRA determination and public hearing. Post office. Parking.
All right, so we're going to refer that to the county.
Okay.
Motion to table, second by Robert Jacobson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. All
Thank
righty.
you.
See you next month.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Item 6 is 25 Cornell Street and 27 and 29 Field Court. Site plan to install a new entry ramp, refuse enclosure, and landscaping. Section block and lot is 56.25-3-29, 56.25-3-16, and 56.25-3-38. Seeker determination, Zone C3, Mixed-Use Overlay District, Ward 4. JSP Plumbing and Heating Company is the applicant owner. Hello again, fellas.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Can you state your, there you go. State your names for the record, please.
John Parker.
All right. So you have some changes, right? You have some changes.
Yeah, we do. I'm just going to help you, Paul. There you go. You got it.
We do have some changes, where JSP was going to go into the entire building. John has now changed the program to have a antique shop in the front, or like antique vendors, and in the front of the building where Wonderly had their production area, and he will move his warehouse operation off of Albany Avenue into the warehouse that was previously occupied by Wonderly. So we're going to have a mixed occupancy of the space.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
So there was a question at the last meeting about the drainage. John has done some research on the drainage, and You want to expand
Yeah,
on?
sure. So I talked to Frankie, who worked at Wonderly's. He was the maintenance guy there. And they did an extensive renovation on the back end all the way around to the front of the parking lot. I guess they had problems with pooling in the front. And so they redid all of that drainage that comes off the back of the building. It gets directed around and then goes into, under this, there was like a concrete slab that was put after that, right into the drainage there. So it's all directed to the front of the building, and that was dug down. I mean, there's no plans, but I could probably find out what they did exactly. He couldn't quite remember. There's a guy up in Saugerties that did it about 8 years
So
ago.
that's the building drainage,
Yeah,
from the roof.
from the roof, correct,
Okay,
yeah.
so it's all connected, and then what you're saying is it goes into the city system in Cornell Street?
No, it goes into the parking lot, and then they dug down like a drainage, like a standard drainage, so it does not go into the city.
Okay, so there's,
Yeah, it's
so there's
a-
a dry, an
Yeah,
underground,
it's like a regular dry well setup down there. They just dug down, put item 4, like, just basically allowed the drainage to happen, so they just dug down. And I think I can find out the specs of it, but he said after they did that, they had no more pooling, because they were having pooling in there, so it wasn't connected to the city
okay.
ever. It was just,
Okay, because, the city engineer was wondering what the drainage was for the parking area and for the roof. Because I think at the last meeting you had talked about, or there was a note on the plan that there's a pipe that came down from the roof and went onto the county's property.
Right,
And you were gonna,
right, what's odd is the building roof slopes
okay,
towards the county property, towards the rail trail.
okay,
And what they did is they put a collection system at the base of the building and tied all the roof drains, and then that goes from the north side to the south parking area, which is
okay.
unusual. And if the city engineer is looking for, some sort of drawings or additional information, I'll work with John to provide that information.
Okay, yeah, that was his only question, was just, how that storm drainage is addressed, because I guess there's no above-ground evidence of dry wells, so there's no like grates in the parking lot.
there is.
Oh, there
There's-
are- there
there's-
are.
Yeah, there is.
Three
And
catch basins. Go ahead.
there's 3 catch basins, and you can see the cutout too, where they
Okay.
did it. And he said it was like 8 years ago, so I don't think it'd be hard to find any kind of, if I
Okay.
needed to do a deeper dive, I don't think it'd be hard to find the contractor that did it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Good.
The other issue was landscaping. One of the issues was landscaping. Now, John has gone in with a landscaper and refreshed the planters on the north side. The south side is still lacking, and he's going to restore that to basically the original configuration, which was the reflection of the north side. It's the same type of plantings, evergreens, boxwood, and some seasonal plantings in there. Now, we discussed that the possibility of landscaping between the sidewalk and the curb is too narrow of an area to do that, and we suggest that we landscape between the sidewalk and the planters. There we have about 6 feet of pavement that could be removed and effectively put in planting there versus the very narrow strip, which I think is going to get damaged by the salts and by snow plowing and so forth. I think it may be a better approach.
Yeah, I think, and we talked about this, Paul, on the phone, I believe, that, removing that asphalt strip between the sidewalk and the building face or the current planter face, the raised planter bed, would be, I think, a huge improvement to the front, the appearance from the streetscape point of view. And I think it's an opportunity, particularly if you're looking at establishing an antique shop there, you're going to want to have something that kind of speaks to, dresses it up a little bit more than, what it looks like today, which is more industrial. You want something that has a more, yes, thank you, welcoming appearance.
Yeah.
So I think that is a good idea. I'd like to see a fully developed plan for that. I talked to Paul about, maybe also introducing, some annual plantings, some flowers, or perennials that would add color and some vibrancy there. I think, there's shrubs that would do the same thing, that would be perennial.
And in this particular case, the parking ratio turned out to be exactly as we had for the initial occupancy, 300 square feet per vehicle for the retail and 3,000 square feet for the warehouse. So we do have adequate parking for this change in occupancy. We will have basically adjacent to Cornell Street will be the visitor parking or the sales parking for the antique shops, and the rear, John will have his operation. Now, John is still planning to move all his heavy equipment and box trucks and so forth to this location and free up a lot of the space on Albany Avenue.
And do the landscaping there.
Yeah, that's the plan.
And I know I harped last meeting on the landscaping, but I will say I drove by the building last week, and the work that you did out front just with the existing shrubbery, I was amazed.
Yeah, it looks good, right?
How good it looked.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I didn't even realize half those plants were there, were the shrubs. I'm like, oh my God, it looks so much better, just what they did, so thank you.
Good, yeah, I think it came out nice. He did the whole parking lot and cleaned everything up, and that's good.
We will need the final signage plan for the building. And obviously now, if you're going to have the retail use in the front, how that signage is going to be done as well.
So they're planning on designing that, so there'll be a design of that to look at. As far as the JSP, I don't know that I may even bother to do any, because it's going to be, we have that, the 515 Albany is really the face of the company, so.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Now, you talked about the antique, did you use a pluralized word, stores? There's going to be stores?
These are going to be like vendor booths, like you typically see, antique.
Sorry, yeah, but
It's the white side.
yeah, it's like Newburgh Emporium is one of them. There's one, the Kings and Consignments is one of them. New Paltz has one. Yeah, it's basically vendors. Rhinebeck, yeah,
Most of the antique centers are that way.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
And the signage that, there's going to be identification for that too, right? Is that going to change? You're going to have whoever's in and out of there, or is it just say?
No, it's going to be one entity.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be just like, I think Newburgh Emporium, that's what they have in the front of it.
Yeah.
Kings and Consignment, same thing. So, yeah, it'll be one entity, and then the vendors will be coming, have their own spot.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they'll make it look really nice. I don't think it's going to be, so.
I know last month we talked about, thinking about traffic circulation and, the use of field court and in and out. And I would presume now with the retail business on the Cornell that that's going to stay a two-way. You'd almost have to.
Cornell Street will be the primary entrance for.
Right.
For the front of the building, antiques.
And field court will be the JSP. Okay. Makes sense. Okay. Signage. Any other questions? I mean, last month we asked for the identification where the outside storage, Paul had indicated with John that they were going to have some roll-offs on this site, so they've located them on the plan. Want to look at those? Refuse enclosure will be adjacent to field court. Pretty standard enclosure with chain link and slats. Lighting. What do we have there? Since you're going to do a retail, are you changing any of the lighting on the front of the building to reflect the new retail face of the building?
Doesn't our
Sign,
plans
lighting.
have not address that. The building is well lit from Cornell Street, the face of the building. And I don't think it really needs any additional accent lighting. The only thing that we may light is the entrance from within the building itself. But there was no thought of adding additional fixtures to the face of the building.
Okay.
Sue, I think that's something that if they did decide to do, I think that could be left on staff level.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It's up to you. Yeah, you should. How the board feels.
Well, there's a note on here about a performance bond for landscaping and what have you. Says here that site improvements they don't believe that will rise above the $25,000 threshold. But asking the board if we're going to want to require it.
No, I mean, I think that we've addressed that with the front planters. He's obviously taken initiative thus far to start that process. There's really no landscaping in the back. And I think, obviously, under his current site plan for Albany Avenue, he has to do it, and he's not in compliance. But that's something that I think he's addressed and told the board that once he moves his operation out, that he can then address and complete that site plan. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah.
Okay. Everybody okay with not including a performance bond then? How's the west feel? What's the west? Okay. All right. Haven't brought that term out in a while, the west and the east. That was back in Mary Jo's days.
Cleaning those planters went a long way.
Yeah, so, all right. Okay, any other?
No.
Okay. We didn't do a secret determination last time, did we?
No.
No. So this is considered an unlisted action under seeker, so we have to render a decision on environmental significance, so. Yeah, but do we have?
You had to do this?
No, I know, but where's my document that I got?
She's getting it.
That's right. I was looking at you. I thought you had it. I know. We've had all these type twos, and I'm like, is this a typo? Yeah, it has been a while since I've done that. But I was looking for the document to appear over here. I don't know. I forgot she has it. Yeah, so it is in order, correct? We're good? Not met with your, yeah. Okay. I might as well have something to hold on to, yeah. All right, thank you. All right, so I have before me a short environmental assessment form that is in order. At this time, I'll make a motion that we adopt it. Do I have a second? Second by Vince Archer. All in favor, Wayne Platt as a yes. Charles Palaco?
Yes.
Robert Jacobson? Vince Archer? Yes. Emily Hamilton?
Yes.
Okay, that is adopted. I even remember to do the roll call. Look at that. I'm going to sign it right now. Yeah.
That's the important part.
I know. Thank you. Thanks. All right. All right, so at this time, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 6 with the following conditions. Sue's
Okay,
going to-
board policies 4, 4A, 6, 7, 7A, 10, 11, 13, 19, 25, and 26. Conditions that the final landscaping plan for the Cornell Street area submitted to staff for review and approval. Final signage plan can come to staff for review and approval, provided it's compliant with zoning. And lighting, if necessary, also at the review of staff.
All right, that is a motion. Do I have a second? Second by Charles Palaco. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
okay.
You staying, yeah?
Go.
Okay, item number 7 is 311 Wall Street, site plan to renovate a 17,704 square foot building to be used as event space with 2 separate retail spaces and associated improvements. Section block and lot is 48.331-1-16, seeker determination, zone C2. It's in the Stockade Historic District as well as Heritage Area. Ward 2, 311 Wall Street LLC is the applicant owner. Paul is here, and just state your name for the record there again.
Corbin Plays.
Okay, welcome. Okay, so where are we now?
There were a couple of items in our last meeting that were brought up, and hopefully I provided that information. One was a narrative, an updated narrative of how the building was going to be used in the future. And the second item was our archaeologist and the resume of the person going to be on site and the background of that particular company. I also was provided with the Ulster County comments. Can I bring that up? As far as the bicycle rack, it's a simple item that is movable, okay, and we'll comply. We'll comply with that aspect. For the other item that the county brought up was car charging stations, and we don't. They didn't say a quantity or a ratio or any of that. We were anticipating maybe 2 car charging stations.
Yeah, the requirement is under the New York State stretch code that the city adopted. It's 5% of your total required parking has to be EV with accessible. So that calculation would have to be made, and then we can, just locate them on the site. Obviously, they'll probably be close to the building for the power because you need to have a power source. And we can work, I think, at staff level to locate them.
And do you have a particular location that you close to an entry door, or what is the criteria for locating
There
these?
are no siting criteria. The only thing, like I said, is they do need a power source. So typically, there's a standalone unit that is installed that I've seen. I don't know that you could pull them probably from the power from the building, I would suspect.
I anticipate this will be adjacent to would that be the west wall of the building?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
right through the building. And was the other issue that we had?
That's what we were just
No, we had some other, we went before Historic Landmark, okay, for the signage, and the minor comments on the signage that we had proposed, and that was they wanted a color sample of the awning, and they wanted a design of how far that awning was going to project out.
Right.
And the configuration of the awning. Those were the only 2 comments that we received from Heritage.
Right, and landmarks, right, and they're coming back in February at the February meeting to do that.
Yeah. Any questions from the board? Those are the only things that were still outstanding with staff? Okay.
We did, on the archaeologist, just to be clear, we got the information on the archaeologist, and it looks fine. We just will need a protocol plan so that if during excavation there is something unearthed and discovered, what the protocol for recording that and documenting it and preserving it and where it's going to go.
You're going to have somebody on site, right?
Correct.
Yeah, they
Okay.
have a,
Anytime we're digging, we'll have somebody on site,
Okay.
a qualified person on site.
And
so
does
they
usually-
just need to submit a standard protocol plan.
That usually comes with that professional? That he has that
Professional,
pro-
yes.
So we'll just, yeah, we'll just.
And
leave it.
we will have a permit issued, a building permit, before we go on site to do any work. And we'll turn in our, the insurance certificates and so forth for the driller.
Okay. All good? All right. Under seeker, it's a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required. Good?
I just have to.
Make sure you've included all of the conditions. All right. Okay. So at this time, I'll make a motion to approve item number 7. And Sue's going to read the conditions and policies. Do I have a second?
Well, I have to read them first.
Well, we got 2 seconds coming on, so go ahead and read them off
All
there.
right, so Board Policy 1, 4, 4A, 6, 7, 7A, 8, 8A, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 14A, 19, 23, 25, and 26, with the conditions that they will comply with the comments of the Ulster County Planning Board, which include the bike rack installation. EV charging stations will be submitted to staff for review and approval. Approvals from the HAC and HLPC, and that the archaeologist will submit the protocol and be on site whenever any excavation is undertaken.
Okay. So we have a second by Charles Palaco. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, folks. All right, under zoning referrals, item number 8 is 25 Dedrick Street. Recommendation,
No. 40.
oh, I don't have that here.
It's in your staff notes right here.
Okay, I'm going by the agenda here, so standing by. Okay. Item number 8 is a curb cut for 44 Joyce Lane. Request to widen an existing curb cut. Section block and lot is 48.331-1-25. Seeker determination, Zone C2, Ward 1, Rosalia Sanchez Batista and Alejandro Felix Dura Barita are the applicants and owners. Hi, folks. Can you turn your mics on and state your names for the record?
Hi, my name is Alejandro
Okay.
Duran. And,
Okay. And keep those mics right on. You can keep them right on.
and then my name is Alejandro Duran Sanchez.
Okay. Yeah, and turn that one on. Just leave it on. Okay, cool. All right, so tell us what you want to do.
Of the,
And we got the picture behind you here too, so, all right.
yeah,
Okay,
that is using the driveway for making more wider the
okay.
enter. Because right now it's just 9 feet. I don't know, I can be, they can cut it like at 20, 21 feet.
Okay. Your request was to go to 24?
Yeah, in the beginning I asked for 24, but they say, I
Well-
think the maximum is 21 or 22.
Well, staff is suggesting 18 to 20 feet. So is that 20 feet is good?
But if they cut it 20 feet in the front, I can make it more wider to my driveway, yeah? Because I
What,
would
where the
like to
wings
just
come
put
out?
like a stone
Where the,
inside the driveway.
We think 20 feet would be wide enough for 2 cars.
Mhm.
And you're doing a 2-car driveway
Two
going in.
cars.
Correct.
I don't want to leave it
question,
just like
so-
a foot the grass, 2 feet the grass. I want to put it like a stone around between the.
Yeah, I
the
mean, a
limit to the
normal,
door.
Yeah.
20 feet should be plenty to, I mean, what's a normal width of a car is, I don't know.
but,
I mean, if
Well,
two
yeah,
cars
a
parked
reg-
side by
yeah,
side, open the
9,
doors.
Yeah, I mean, a normal parking space is 9 by 18. Okay, so,
It's perfect for me.
once you get off the street into the parking lot, you can widen that out.
Yeah.
Just where the curb cut is
It's
will
18
be,
inches, use the curb cut, no?
yeah.
Widen it so you can step out of the car, but they don't like wide curbs because you want the water to.
Yeah.
Are you okay with 20 feet? I mean, this is 18 to 20.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think 24 is definitely
Yeah.
too wide. So
20?
we suggested the 18 to 20. That's a standard 2-car driveway width, and that would be what we would recommend.
Everybody's good with the 20 from the west? Good? The east? All right. And what is it going to be, gravel or shale in there?
Use gravel for now.
Okay.
Technically, you have to put some type of concrete or blacktop
Apron.
between the curb and the sidewalk.
Yeah,
You can't get rid of the sidewalk.
yeah. Not from the sidewalk to my
Sidewalk.
property, it's just put a gravel. But for outside,
Is he going to
I
donate
think
the
concrete or something like that, no?
Yeah, from the street, sidewalk, and then you have the sidewalk itself, has to be some type of stone, like solid stone.
Yeah, like a,
Yeah, it has to be, it's concrete is what they're going to have to do. You
Okay.
can't use asphalt, so it would have to be a poured concrete.
All right, they know about the permit too to get from DPW. You've talked to them about that.
I will put that in here.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay.
So when you do the curb cut, okay, you're going to have to either lower the curb. I mean, there is a portion that's probably, it doesn't look like there's much of a reveal, but you do need to leave a little reveal, which is just a little raised lip of the curb has to stay above the pavement of the street. And that is really to kind of just maintain any stormwater running down the street is going to stay in the street unless it's really high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. True. All right, so under seeker, it's a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required. At this time, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 9 with,
On board policy 5 and 6, and limit the curb cut to 20-foot width. Apron will need to be a concrete material. he'll need to get a DPW permit and leave a curb reveal.
Okay. Have a second on that? Second by Robert Jacobson. Huh? Yeah, that's the real number 8. Yeah. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, so this is item 9 now, the zoning stuff? Okay. All right, zoning referrals. Item number 9 is 25 Dedrick Street, recommendation on rezoning request to the Common Council from C3, which is general commercial, to C2, which is central commercial. Section block and lot is 56.25-4-36. Ward 5, secret determination, NNS Supply is the owner, and Center for Photography at Woodstock is the applicant.
Okay, they're not present tonight. It's very simple. This is the old NNS building on Dedrick Street. The Center for Photography of Woodstock has purchased the building, and they are seeking to have it rezoned from its current C3 to a C2 to allow their their occupancy to go forward. They do have a building right now on Broadway that they occupy. This is going to be an extension of that. They'll have gallery space, potential studio space, teaching space in the building. So I think it's a really good reuse of this property.
Goes on both sides of Canfield Street?
Property's on the north side of
Yeah, number, what was that, 35, 36? 30.
This zone that you're proposing, the purple of 43.1 or the pink of 32?
The pink of 32. No, because on the opposite side of the street, you still have the C3. It'll be consistent over there. They're only,
That's not that one. It's this one, right? Not the 32.
North side of Canfield.
This one I'm talking about. Right here. This is a parking lot.
oh, okay.
That's a parking lot. Well, it's,
That's Scott Dutton's property.
Correct. Scott is, I think, 30,
It's
Scott's
it's this one.
28 and 32. Correct, but if you're moving the pink over, you got to get rid of 33 or you're spot zoning.
Well, I mean, technically you wouldn't be, but
that's Mike Juby's building, the one we're talking about on that side of Canfield
yeah,
Street?
I see what you're saying. Okay. Okay, so,
One could make an argument that it runs around the backside of Canfield to Scott's
I would-
property.
Well, yeah, see where it touches 28? So that,
If it touches 28, I think you're fine.
who owns that? Is that,
Scott.
is that, see, this one here? Who owns this?
that's
Is that-
Scott Dutton. That's part of 28. That goes all the way.
As long as you're contiguous to 28, I think you're good. Just can't make a new color in the middle of a map.
You gotta make it, can we?
If the tax maps touch each other, if this is contiguous to Scott, then I think you're
Well,
fine.
how about, no, well, you could make the argument that the street, see where Dedrick Street continues on? If you keep that, make that all pink,
Well, you
right to the end,
Yeah, but you'd be changing all that.
and then you'd leave 32 as a, or 33 as a spot zone?
You are.
If you are, then I see no issue.
The west is by Scott Dutton Associates.
What is this, see this piece right here?
I know. Yeah, I
This.
see that. Yeah.
that wraps around. That has to be part of 35 because there's no other number in there. By the railroad track side. I get what you're saying, and it makes sense.
Okay, this shows it much clearer. So if you have the tax map. So this piece back here is 28.1 is part of Scott. So
Okay.
he owns that. He owns all the way to the back side of this.
So this doesn't represent,
So Scott's piece goes all the way back here, so
But-
that is,
right
so
here,
they're only talking about 36.
yeah. But it shows here that,
Don't,
okay.
that map leaves
Okay.
a lot to be desired
All
in
right, so
terms of
this is
it,
most
but
likely.
I look at we
This
look
is
at the
most
tax
likely
maps.
pink all the way
Have
over
the
here.
tax
Yes.
map?
Okay.
Oh, let me see.
So that's most likely all pink.
Yes.
Okay.
20, yeah, so he's
Yeah.
contiguous to Scott, so you're fine.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Does that make sense to everybody on that? Okay.
Scott runs up along the railroad track.
Is that a motion to approve, to recommend?
Yeah,
Okay.
as long as it's, yeah.
All right. All right, so we have a motion, let's see,
Who's making,
Robert's making the motion to recommend the rezoning request. Have a second? Second by Charles Palaco. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Yeah, oh, yeah, they are. Did we sign the,
resolution?
yeah,
It said draft on it, so I'm using the committee
Okay.
report members. I
All
think
right.
that would be the signature block.
okay. Item number 10 is the form-based citywide zoning code, recommendation on proposed form-based zoning code, citywide application to common council. Secret determination, City of Kingston is the applicant. The board will be discussing this matter at a special meeting on January 23rd, 2023.
That's next Monday, everybody, here, 6 o'clock. We will, I know Kyla sent around the sections that we're going to be starting off on. You might not have gotten that because it's probably predated you, so we'll get you that information and the links and everything. Kyla, can you send that to Andrew? Okay. And Bartek will be doing just a little preliminary review of the form-based code in advance of that, in advance of our discussion. Okay, so review those sections, bring your questions. If you have questions in advance that you want to get to us, we'll make sure that we get the answers.
Okay.
Okay, because it's new to Kyla and I too, so we don't have all the answers on this one. Yes, he's going to give a brief presentation. It won't be lengthy, but he'll certainly be available too, as well. I mean, this is a workshop session. No decisions expected at all. It's open discussion, just reviewing it. Absolutely. Yep. Yep. And there will be probably at least one other, maybe two other workshop meetings on this. It's a big document, a lot of material to absorb. So we're not obviously going to complete it all in one meeting, one sit down. Yeah.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but just those particular sections that you raised, have you pulled those sections out yet? Yeah, do you, I mean, or is that something you could have Donna? Well, I'm just thinking if we could just pull those sections out and just PDF them out to the board members, then. I don't want to scroll through the whole thing in the meeting, so if you just pull out I mean, I can pull it out myself, but if it was already done, then I'll just at work print it and I can make notes and.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can do that.
Yeah, I just figured it'd be easier for the members if you have them ready.
Okay,
All right.
so there's no vote on that. We don't need to do
Yeah.
anything. And I don't know where East Strand is. They sent an email earlier
2 blocks
today
from
with
your
an
house.
updated presentation that I put on the shared drive, and
Let me just
I'm
read
not-
it into record.
you read it into record, and we'll just table it,
All
and
right.
then, yeah.
Item number 11 is a discussion, number 65-85 East Strand, discussion on submitted massing concept for a mixed-use development. Section block and lot is 56.43-737, zone RLC, heritage area, also coastal zone, Ward 8, Kingston Waterfront Propco LLC is the applicant owner. So at this time, I'll make a motion that we table item number 11. Second by Robert Jacobson, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Sue, you'll send out a dual poll
Carried.
then for further workshops?
Yeah, unless you want to bring your calendars on Monday, next Monday, and we'll look at the calendar, I mean, we can meet in a conference room. We don't have to meet in this room
That's fine.
particularly.
Will you have suggestions on what's open and what dates?
Yep, yeah, we'll be able to look at other meetings that are going on. Reminder that if you have not gotten us your financial disclosure, or haven't brought that in, that needs to get done. I don't think, is there anything else we need? Okay, I think that's it. So, motion to adjourn?
Okay, motion to adjourn, second by Robert Jacobson, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everybody. Andrew, welcome. All right.